Before we start our milling process, it is good practice to face the block. This particular wax block came out of the mold pretty well, but many of them will not. Regardless, to ensure that we have a nice, flat, smooth, parallel working surface, we're going to cut down the surface of the block. This will involve taking an end mill and cutting across the entire surface. You're going to use a facing tool, which is typically the largest diameter tool you're going to use. We can only cut in increments of slightly less than half the diameter of the tool, so the wider the tool, the faster the facing process will go. Speaking of which, you can face the block by moving back and forth in either of the X or Y axes. In this case, we're going to use the Y axis. This block is longer in the Y direction than the X direction, so sliding back and forth in the Y axis means less time and less work for the person typing in commands. Move to a position that is slightly below the origin point in the Y-axis and slightly above the origin point in the Z-axis. The center of the tool should be directly over the X-axis. Start the spindle at 750 RPM and lower the tool to slightly below 0 in the Z-axis. In this case, we're going to be using 0.05 inches per pass for a wax block. Continue making 0.05 inch passes until the block is completely flat and all roughness has been machined flat. If you're cutting other materials, consult with the shop manager to determine proper cutting depths and speeds per pass. Now, we're going to move along the X-axis past the far surface of the block at a speed of 15 inches per minute. Our block is 5 inches long, and our tool has a diameter of 9/16 inches. So we're directing the tool to go to a position of 5.375 inches in the Y-axis. Once the tool has reached that position, we can move slightly over in the X direction and then go back. Think of this like mowing your lawn. Unlike mowing your lawn, however, we can't step over an entire thickness of the tool. If we did that, part of the tool would be cutting the wax in the wrong direction. We cannot do that, so we are limited. We can only step over half the thickness of the tool. And to be safe, we'll actually step over slightly less than half the thickness. Our tool has a diameter of 9/16 of an inch, so half of that would be 4.5/16. We'll step over 4/16 of an inch, which is the same as 1/4 of an inch. Once that's complete, we can make a pass back across the block. We're going to be repeating this process until we've cut off the entire top face of the block. Note that this process takes a few minutes, so I'm going to be speeding up the video. The tool should not actually cut as fast as it's going to appear to be moving. We've now finished manually facing the block. We call it manually facing because we're directing the tool by hand. As many of you are probably thinking, this task is ripe for automation, but we'll talk about that at some point in the future.